Hi, I'm Ethan. At 22 years old, my work involves maintaining swimming pools. It's not glamorous, but it provides consistency. I appreciate peaceful days under the sun. Unlike the common perception of California as glitzy beaches, high-end cars, and bustling urban areas, for me, California is a tranquil suburban neighborhood filled with pricey homes and quiet, sunlit pools. Every morning, I gather my tools, a bucket, net, chemicals, and proceed to work at the luxury community complex. My tasks are uncomplicated. Skim leaves, check chlorine levels, clean tiles, and ensure everything remains tidy. These are simple, repetitive chores that I carry out day after day. The residents here hardly acknowledge me, and that's all right. I'm just another part of their scenery, as inconspicuous and ever-present as the neatly manicured hedges surrounding their gardens. Typically, they offer polite greetings or casual waves without truly recognizing me. That suits me just fine. I'm not great at small talk, especially with people whose vehicle's worth likely exceeds my lifetime earnings. The inhabitants of the complex are primarily affluent families, career-driven individuals, and retired folk seeking tranquility. Despite their predictable habits observed daily from my vantage point, they appear oblivious. The elderly pair in apartment near 10 swim laps each morning, while the family at number 4 frolics with their children every Saturday. And there's Elena residing in house year 16. I've noticed her swimming alone on numerous late afternoons, always displaying a sense of poise, always solitary. She stands out among them. There's an enigmatic air about her, perhaps a veiled melancholy. She often arrives when I'm wrapping up my observations, just as the sunlight transitions to that comforting golden hue, making everything seem more tender. Elena is Sam's mother, a person I've met only fleetingly before Sam left for college over a year ago. Our interactions were minimal then, enough merely to recognize her presence, but never to truly understand her. Sam seldom discussed his parents. Dear friends, please help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Please like and subscribe to our channel. It will motivate us to make more videos like this for you. All that was known was their divorce, and how his mother remained solitarily. I'd occasionally catch sight of her during work, attempting not to gawk, but often failing. I'd observe from afar, keeping a low profile, feigning busyness, yet ever mindful of her proximity. She navigated the water effortlessly, exhibiting an air of familiarity and composure. Few words escaped her lips, merely nodding politely if someone happened to pass. She consistently favored the secluded area of the pool, situated furthest from the main entrance under the shade of a tall palm tree, affording privacy. I pondered why she sought such isolation, musing over what thoughts consumed her during those silent laps. One late afternoon, as I was wrapping up my work, Elena arrived as customary. She strolled leisurely along the poolside, cloaked in a light robe and barefoot. Her dark tresses hung loosely, catching the gentle sun rays as she neared the pool. I occupied myself with cleaning the rim, feigning indifference as I sensed her actions, though my entire physique seemed attuned to her motions. She discarded her robe, unveiling a minimal black swimsuit. She halted for an instant at the edge, seemingly collecting herself, before effortlessly entering the water. I furtively glanced, striving to maintain an expression of nonchalance, convincing myself that my gazes were mere casual interest, but in truth, they were more. That day felt distinct. Perhaps it was the tranquility or how the sunshine lingered longer, tinting the water with warm hues of orange and gold. I prolonged my task, dragging out my departure, conscious of my absurdity, yet powerless to leave. Then, I observed something peculiar. Elena halted mid-swim, her motions faltering. Her countenance transformed abruptly from focused calm to discomfort, her body stiffening slightly. She attempted to swim towards the shore, but her movements were clumsy, labored. My heart rate accelerated. In an instant, I discarded my tools and sprinted to the poolside. Her distress was palpable, her eyes pleading silently for aid. "Elena," I called out, my voice edged with urgency that caused a slight crack. She was unable to reply. My instincts took charge. I shed my shoes, discarded my phone, and plunged in. The chilling water jolted me awake, heightening every sense. In moments, I reached her side, grasping her arm gently. "I've got you," I assured her, keeping my voice steady. She didn't utter a word, merely nodded, eyes reflecting both embarrassment and gratitude. Carefully, I encircled her waist with an arm, directing her towards the pool edge. Upon reaching it, I exited first and extended my hand to her. After a brief hesitation, she accepted my help, allowing me to assist her out. She sat on the edge, gasping deeply, clearly shaken. Her hair clung wetly to her face and shoulders. My heart pounded, not from exertion, but from the intensity of the moment we shared. "Are you all right?" I inquired gently. She nodded once more, attempting to conceal her awkwardness with a faint smile. "Only a muscle spasm." "It's foolish, truly. I should have been more aware." "It can happen." I comforted her, grabbing the towel she'd left close by and offering it to her. She gratefully accepted it, wrapping herself in its folds. Her gaze finally locked with mine, steady and penetrating. "Thank you, Ethan. It's good to know you were here." I responded casually, feeling my cheeks flush. I was unfamiliar with such genuine, intimate exchanges. We remained silent for a while, the soothing sound of water brushing against the poolside filling the space. The sun was sinking, casting elongated shadows around us. Suddenly, I became aware that I was drenched, seated uncomfortably beside her, likely appearing ridiculous. Yet, she showed no signs of disapproval. After a brief pause, she looked at me once more. There was something altered in her eyes now, softer and more vulnerable. "I've noticed you before," she said softly, unsure if I had noticed her. Hesitant, words stuck, yet I confessed what I had observed. Her smile broadened, authentic and warm. "I saw you as well," she replied. "You are always so cautious, considerate. It's hard to come by these days." I was at a loss for words. Everything seemed fresh, alien, but oddly fitting. When I assisted her from the pool, something shifted. It was subtle, yet I sensed it. Perhaps it was the way her gaze lingered on me, or the unspoken connection we shared. Or maybe it was the persistent pounding of my heart long after the event had ended. Whatever it was, it left me questioning what would transpire next. And, for the first time in a while, I felt something other than the mundane routine of my days. "Thank you, Ethan," she said. "You didn't need to dive in, but you did. I won't forget that." Those words reverberated in my mind all night. The sincerity in her tone, the quiet appreciation in her eyes, it lingered with me, awakening me at unusual hours, filling me with thoughts I couldn't fully comprehend. For several days, I found myself in an unusual state. Despite consistently showing up at the pool each morning for my routine of cleaning, skimming, testing chemicals, and scrubbing tiles, my mind seemed to wander elsewhere. My heartbeat quickened slightly every afternoon, in eager anticipation of Elena's arrival. Upon her arrival, she greeted me with a warmer smile than usual and lingered around longer after her swim. Initially, our exchanges were casual, discussing trivial matters like the weather, neighborhood, and pool water clarity. These dialogues served merely to fill the silence. However, these conversations eventually transitioned into more intimate and authentic discussions. Elena would often sit by the pool, wrapped in a towel, watching me complete my tasks. Consequently, I found myself protracting my work, delaying completion, and finding excuses to remain in her vicinity for slightly longer periods. On one particular afternoon, as the sun dipped low and the sky turned golden, Elena looked up from her spot by the pool's edge, her eyes filled with thoughtfulness. "You didn't expect our evenings would be spent conversing with the pool attendant, did you, Ethan?" she playfully remarked, her eyes gleaming softly. I must admit, I didn't either. My smile was bashful, a blush rising up my neck. I hadn't imagined discussing with a fellow resident either. She chuckled softly, visibly relaxing. Fair enough. The laughter subsided, leaving an easy quiet. Her expression softened, became contemplative. "You seem somewhat like Sam," she mused. "Quiet, considerate, kind-hearted." Mentioning Sam, however, brought me back to reality, reminding me that Elena was his mother. I looked away, feeling unsettled. "Do you miss him?" I asked softly, attempting to shift the focus. She sighed, nodding gently. "Yes, of course. The house feels empty without him. It's peculiar, building a home, a family, and then one day, it's silent again. In solitude, you grapple with an uncertain sense of purpose." Her candor took me aback, momentarily silencing my response. However, the raw emotion in her voice compelled me to speak. All of us experience feelings of being adrift sometimes. As our eyes met, soft yet comforting, she probed, "Ethan, are you lost?" Caught off guard by the intimacy of the question, I hesitated but found solace in the sincerity on her face. "At times, yes. It seems that at my age, everything should be decided. But mostly I feel like a ship without a compass, skimming pools and waiting for something elusive." She listened attentively, digesting my words. When she spoke again, her voice held empathy. "Perhaps we're all waiting, Ethan. Waiting for that moment when our days find meaning?" That night, as I departed, a realization dawned upon me. Elena was no longer just a curiosity, but someone I cared about deeply. I noticed the quiet melancholy hidden within her smile, and the apparent ease with which she bore loneliness. Caring for her, however, brought its own set of challenges and uncertainties. In the ensuing days, our interactions delved deeper. Elena confided more freely about her divorce, recounting how unexpected and painful it was, how the void left by her husband's absence felt overwhelming. "For years," she admitted on a quiet afternoon, "I pretended everything was all right, but eventually that wasn't enough. Now I'm trying to discover who I am without him, without the role I played for so long." Her sincerity stirred a protective instinct within me, an impulse to console and assure her. Yet, I hesitated, wary of encroaching upon boundaries we hadn't explicitly defined. She seemed to perceive my reticence. One day, she smiled gently, sensing the space I had created. "You should know," she said softly. "You don't have to listen to all this if you don't want to. I don't want to burden you with my troubles." "No," I replied promptly, shaking my head. "I enjoy listening. It seems significant." She subtly raised an eyebrow, a delicate smile curling her lips. "Significant? Allow me to clarify," I faltered, momentarily losing my footing. "It feels authentic, like it matters." Her demeanor softened, more gratitude shimmering in her eyes. "Thank you. That means a great deal to me. Yet, following our discussions each evening, I'd lie awake, torn. I knew the emotions brewing within me were not fitting. Elena was mature, knowledgeable, and above all, she was my friend's mother. The thoughts that persisted felt inappropriate, forbidden. Still, they persisted obstinately. I kept telling myself to step back, to re-establish the safe distance I once maintained. However, each afternoon when Elena appeared at the poolside, smiling gently, my resolve would dissolve. Instead of distancing myself, I found myself drawn nearer, impatiently awaiting any new tale she might spin, any fleeting glimpse into her life. On a tranquil afternoon, Elena sat beside me while I tidied up poolside chairs, the sun casting a golden hue above us. She remained silent for quite some time, seemingly engrossed in her own thoughts. Finally, she uttered softly, almost to herself, "At times, it seems nobody truly listens to me." After a moment's pause, my heart quickened slightly, mindful of the delicacy of this moment. "I am listening," I responded. Her gaze shifted sharply towards me, her eyes revealing vulnerability and surprise. "You are, aren't you?" "Yes," I confirmed, keeping my voice low but firm. She released a slow breath, her shoulders visibly relaxing. With unwavering gaze, she spoke again, her voice tender yet serious. "Ethan, you're an exceptional listener. It's rare to find someone who truly hears me." In that quiet moment, something profoundly unsaid transpired between us. The air felt heavy with significance. My heart pounded harder, mindful of the weight of her words and their impact on me. I became undeniably aware that Elena was no longer a distant admiration for me. She had become someone who held significant importance in my life, defying all reasons to the contrary. I was uncertain about where this would lead, or if my feelings were justified. But as the sun sank, tinting the sky a gentle pink, I was resolute about one thing. I could no longer suppress my emotions. It seemed she might be doing the same. As days turned into weeks, Elena and I drew nearer. Our poolside chats evolved, delving deeper, revealing more intimate aspects. We no longer discussed weather or pool maintenance. Instead, we divulged our innermost thoughts, secrets we never thought to disclose to another. I found myself opening up to her about my past, my feelings of alienation and uncertainty. She listened attentively, her eyes filled with empathetic comprehension. Initially, it felt unusual to confide in her, someone who appeared so distinct from myself, seeming wise beyond my years, unreachable. Yet during those late afternoon chats, she didn't seem distant. Instead, she felt tangible and secure. "You understand," I said one afternoon as the golden sun tinted our surroundings. "More often than not, I'm simply moving through motions, waiting for life to unfold. I'm unsure of what I should do, who I am meant to be." She listened attentively, her expression reflective. "You're young, Ethan. It's all right if you haven't found your path yet." I disagreed, letting out a soft sigh. "I don't know. At times, it feels as though everyone else has a plan except for me." She offered a gentle smile, looking at the rippling water. "I used to think that too, Ethan, that everyone around me had life figured out. Then one day, I came to understand that we're all merely pretending." Her words lingered with me. Helena's manner of speaking clarified and simplified even my complex emotions I found hard to grasp myself. One evening, upon wrapping up at the pool, Helena caught me off guard. Rather than departing after her swim, she remained, settling down on a lounge chair wrapped in a towel, her gaze seemingly far off. Hesitant as to whether I should disturb her, I found her gently touch my arm as I walked past. "Ethan," she murmured, "would you care to join me for a glass of wine?" she asked softly, even shyly. "The night is beautiful. I'd welcome your company." My heart leaped within my chest, accelerating. It seemed inappropriate somehow, taboo, but I couldn't refuse. I didn't want to. "Certainly," I answered, trying to sound composed. "I would enjoy that." Just moments later, we sat side by side beside the radiant pool. The water lights under us flickered softly, casting a soothing light around us. Helena offered me a glass of cool, pale wine, the rim delicately catching the reflection of the pool lights. She confessed, her voice gentle, eyes glowing softly, that she seldom drinks alone. However, she added, the house can feel unsettlingly empty at times. I listened thoughtfully as I observed her, her eyes carrying a quiet sadness. She paused, then took a sip of her wine before meeting my gaze squarely. Have you ever wondered about the life you could have had? She asked, referring to the dreams and aspirations abandoned due to the intrusions of life. I hesitated, delving into memories, feeling exposed under her sincere scrutiny. Sometimes, I admitted, as a younger man, I harbored ambitions to explore the world, but it seems that practicalities always took precedence over dreams. She nodded sympathetically, still smiling softly. I too aspired to paint. Did you know I once loved art? Life became hectic with marriage, motherhood, and art slowly drifted away. Now, I often wonder what might have been if I hadn't let it go. I suggested tentatively, perhaps you can still paint? Perhaps there's always a chance. She chuckled softly, yet a wistfulness lingered beneath. Possibly, or perhaps certain dreams only have their time, and once it elapses, it can never be reclaimed. The night enveloped us in a deep silence, intensifying. Her gaze wandered to the pool, its waters moving subtly under the soft wind's caress. She then looked back at me, her voice barely audible above a whisper. Do you believe I've missed my opportunity for joy, Ethan? I mean, true joy. Her query took me aback. My throat suddenly parched. I swallowed hard. I can't say, Elena. Joy, isn't it complex? She waited patiently, watching me intently. I inhaled slowly, collecting my thoughts, feeling awkward yet driven to speak truthfully. I believe maybe joy doesn't have a single chance. I started hesitantly. Maybe it's not about missed moments, but the ones we haven't lived yet, the ones we decide to seize. Your sentiment is heartwarming. We sat quietly, savoring our wine, each lost in our personal reveries. Yet within me, emotions knotted intricately. Being with Elena was at once ideal and treacherous. I harbored feelings for her, feelings that couldn't be ignored. Yet a pang of guilt persistently nagged, reminding me she is Sam's mother, my friend's mother. Is this morally correct? Is this emotion authentic or merely a confused, solitary moment? I often grapple with guilt. Suddenly she confessed, as if sensing my inner turmoil. I feel guilty about enjoying these conversations. You are Sam's friend, after all. I looked at her squarely, my heart racing anew. It's complex, I conceded softly. Sam is indeed my friend, and you are his mother. But when we converse, it doesn't feel strange. It feels pleasant. She returned my gaze, scrutinizing me intently. I experienced the same sensation. However, the last thing I wish to do is put you in an awkward position. I quickly shook my head. You aren't. She softened her expression slightly, smiling faintly. After a moment, she confided, these talks matter to me. They simplify things, alleviate loneliness. Her candor resonated deeply, stirring emotions I couldn't ignore. My thoughts raged endlessly. One part of me knew this couldn't persist, that it was too convoluted, too perilous. Another part felt magnetically attracted to her, a force I couldn't resist. As the night sky grew deeper, stars appearing subtly, our talk shifted towards lighter subjects. However, beneath our words lingered something potent, unsaid. Eventually, she rose slowly, stretching slightly. I followed suit, sensing the end of our evening nearing. Thank you for tonight, she whispered, her voice warm. I enjoyed it. Same here, I replied honestly, feeling a familiar tightness in my chest. As she prepared to leave, she stopped suddenly, her hand gently touching my shoulder. Her touch was comforting, intimate, surpassing anything we had experienced prior. My heartbeat accelerated, my body acutely sensitive to her nearness. "You've lessened the solitude of these afternoons for me," she murmured softly, her words barely audible yet distinct. Subsequently, she released me, offering a final gentle gaze before retreating, leaving me by the pool with the chilly night breeze brushing against my skin. For hours afterward, I remained there, gazing into the faintly lit water, struggling with my feelings. My guilt and the unavoidable truth I was developing feelings for Elena tormented me, and now there was no going back. From that evening onwards, I began to distance myself from Elena. I didn't want to do so, but an inner voice persisted, telling me it was the proper course of action. The afternoons I once looked forward to were replaced by moments filled with uncertainty. I completed my tasks faster, ensuring I always departed before her arrival, concocting reasons to avoid our typical discussions. I believed distancing myself would streamline matters, bring clarity. Instead, it left me feeling vacant, more perplexed. Days melded into weeks, and each solitary evening in my modest apartment, I contemplated if Elena was aware, if she yearned for our conversations as much as I did. Then, on a tranquil afternoon, she finally addressed the issue. I was meticulously cleaning the pool filter, intent on my chore to steer clear of thoughts about her, when I sensed a familiar presence behind me. Turning slowly, my heart raced. Elena was there, with a tender, hesitant smile playing on her lips. "You've been avoiding me?" she inquired, softly scrutinizing my eyes. There was no accusation in her tone, merely quiet sorrow. I sighed, setting the filter aside cautiously, my hands damp and trembling slightly. "I didn't mean to, I simply believed," my words faded, uncertain of the conclusion. "Believed what?" she prompted softly. I gulped, my throat parched. "I believed it was advantageous. Secure?" "Secure?" she repeated softly, empathetic yet wounded. "From me? From us?" I clarified quietly. "Elena, you are Sam's mother and older than me. This situation is complex, and I don't want to cause problems. You seem to understand my feelings as you nodded slowly. Then you approached me, speaking softly but firmly. Ethan, you said, haven't you considered the same thoughts? Isn't this situation complicated for you too?" I looked away, feeling a heavy guilt. "I don't know what is right," I replied. You sighed and seemed to release some burden. "There isn't always a clear right or wrong here, Ethan," you explained. "Feelings often don't follow logic. They simply occur." We remained quiet, the soothing sound of water filling the silence. You moved towards the pool's edge, gazing at your reflection shimmering on the surface. Silent and deep in thought, you stood there for a while. "I have been married, had a child, and built a life," you said, speaking with a steady yet vulnerable voice. "But sometimes I feel more uncertain now than when I was your age. After my divorce and Sam leaving home, everything transformed swiftly, as if I was drifting, trying to grasp something solid. It's like I'm yearning for something real, something constant." I listened attentively, comprehending her words completely. I too share the same feelings. I approached her cautiously. "It seems like I'm waiting for something to stabilize me, something to clarify everything." She looked at me gently. "Is that why you've been distant?" she asked. "Perhaps," I replied truthfully. "I'm afraid of what I'm experiencing, of what it might imply." She softly expressed, "You worry about Sam." "He's my friend," I said sheepishly. "You're his mother. It feels like I'm being unfaithful, even by contemplating these thoughts." Elena sighed softly, sympathetically. "Sam cares for you, Ethan. You matter to him. And yes, our circumstances are complex, but emotions aren't betrayals. In the fading afternoon sun, we stood in silence, shadows stretching long across the patio. Elena broke the quiet, her tone gentler, more exposed. I can't hide it from you, Ethan. There's a bond between us that I feel. Yet, I recognize its fragility and the need for patience. She paused, then admitted, perhaps for now, being truthful about it is enough. Her words eased an unrecognized burden within me. A deep breath filled me with relief. Truthfulness might be all we require at this moment. She moved closer cautiously, maintaining a measured distance. You've been incredibly considerate, Ethan, she acknowledged. You've listened to me, comprehended me, perceived me not merely as a mother or an elderly woman, but as a genuine individual, worthy of recognition. I responded softly, Indeed you are. You always have been. Emotion filled her eyes as she questioned hesitantly, Do you think it's wrong for me to feel this way? I shook my head firmly. It's okay to feel this way. We both do. It's just complex. She chuckled lightly, easing the tension a bit. Life often is. We stood quietly once more, finding comfort in the silence. Later, Elena moved away softly, looking around the pool area as if seeing it for the first time. You know, Ethan, she mused thoughtfully, I've spent many afternoons here swimming alone, feeling unnoticed, but you changed that. Just by being here and listening, you transformed everything. I returned a gentle smile, moved by her words. You brought changes in me as well, Elena. I didn't even realize how isolated I had become until you started talking to me. She turned fully towards me, her gaze steady and tender. Perhaps this is precisely what we both needed then. A friendship, a bond, something genuine in a world that can sometimes feel void. Maybe, I agreed softly. The sun sank lower, painting the sky with soft pastels, gentle pinks, warm oranges, deep purples. Elena surveyed our surroundings once more, gathering each detail, every memory we'd built together. Turning towards me, her eyes were serious yet compassionate. I'm grateful for this conversation, Ethan. I appreciate the honesty. I concur, I responded softly, my heart growing lighter amidst the ongoing complications. Gradually, she moved closer, bridging the gap between us. For a brief instant, it seemed she might embrace me, touch me, but instead, she merely stood near, her presence offering solace. There's no rush to solve everything now, she murmured tenderly. Perhaps acknowledging we're not alone in our feelings is sufficient. I gave a silent nod, admiring her insight, her clarity. No vows were spoken, no boundaries breached yet. In that moment, I felt closer to her than ever before. Eventually, she retreated once more, wrapping herself tighter in her shawl as evening descended. She gazed at the pool one last time, a faint, wistful smile gracing her lips. Thank you, Ethan, she eventually murmured, her voice gentle yet firm, for consistently seeing me as if I were still a woman. In doing so, she bestowed upon me a final significant look before silently departing, leaving me by the pool to ponder alone. As I observed her vanish, it struck me that we hadn't resolved our issues. No explanations were offered, no plans for the future laid out. Yet, in some way, things seemed more clear, more straightforward. Perhaps not all relationships necessitate a definition. They can merely be deeply felt. And within this gentle ambiguity, I discovered an overwhelming sense of tranquility. For whatever transpired next, whatever decision we made, at least we were both aware of one truth. Unequivocally, we were no longer solitary. Perhaps that was sufficient.